Tired of the mainstream media spin? Want the truth? Loud, clear, and unapologetically conservative? Seth's Conservative Podcast Show is your new Sunday night destination. Tune in at 7 p.m. every Sunday on Rewind Indie for bold opinions, hot takes, and real talk that cuts through the noise. Politics, culture, common sense. If you're ready for a show that stands for faith, freedom, and the American way, this is it. Seth's Conservative Podcast Show. Sundays at 7, only on Rewind Indie. Be there. Be misinformed.
Welcome to the Line Before podcast. How are you doing tonight, Tracy?
Hey man, that's a pretty cool opening there.
Definitely, man. The radio show is awesome, man. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, we were welcomed very well by the Rewind Indie folks over there, man, and it was really cool. The it done really well, and everybody just be sure to come and see us over there Sunday nights at 7.
Yep. And you can listen to it after it's on Rewind Indie on Sunday nights here on YouTube, Spotify, Podbean, and Facebook as well. The Line
Yeah,
Before
and
podcast.
this little get together right here is kind of like a, what would you call this? Like a pre-show show?
Yeah, just to keep your ears to listen.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, these little,
They call it ear candy. This is ear candy, man.
is that what it is? Is that like a thumbnail for your ears?
Yeah, this is ear candy, man.
It's kind of like clickbait for the ears.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Nah, we had fun though. I appreciate everybody listening. Appreciate Tracy doing the show with me every week, and look forward to this Sunday as well.
Yeah, and you know what? We got some pretty cool shows we've been talking about doing and getting done here in the next few weeks, and as it gets closer, we'll drop a little more about what it's going to be about. But we've definitely got some pretty cool shows coming up.
Yeah, this one coming up, we got a cool Easter Bunny story. So
Yeah, well, I don't know about cool. We'll say
interesting.
disturbing.
It's pretty interesting, man. Definitely.
The things that Easter nightmares are made of.
But yeah, for the people that don't know, man, tell the people about our radio show.
Yeah, man, we kind of just delve into everything. I mean, politics. We delve into the cryptid stuff. We delve into history. Just whatever, man. Whatever what's in the headlines or whatever. You know, that's the thing about this show. We don't stick to one particular topic. We may start out talking about what's going on in Washington, and by the end, we may be talking about Bigfoot.
We will
It's just so diverse.
talk about
It
UFOs at the
goes,
end.
yeah, it goes all over the place. It's so diverse that uh, it's hard to pin this show down to say this is what this show is, because it's not really a political show. It's not really, and to steal a line from Seinfeld, it's really a show about nothing because it can go anywhere.
That's true, man. I mean, we got Harvey from Harvey's Weekly Football Report. How you doing tonight, Harvey?
I'm doing okay. And you was talking about the Easter, doing the Easter like Easter Bunny. I was just no pun intended. I was going to say that's exactly right.
Uh, definitely appreciate you being on, Harvey. I know we got some news in the NFL. What do you think about Shadir Sanders dropping from like beginning of like college football season? He was supposed to be the number one pick. Now he's the number nine pick projected. What do you think about that?
I I'll take it all depends on who's which team drafts and basically what they need in the draft. If a team feels like they need a wide receiver, they'll go after the wide receiver. I would
Travis Hunter.
figure he would. I would figure he would either go one or two at least.
Yep. And I know you're also the co-host of the podcast with William Hunt as well. We'll be back Wednesday night on that, so definitely look forward to that too, Harvey.
Yeah, but that what did you talk about Cam Ward?
Oh, Cam Ward's supposed to be number one pick. Yeah,
I would probably maybe the best pick right now.
definitely, man. Definitely. Appreciate you coming on, man, and talking about the NFL. And Tracy, I know you got a story to talk about too about the dumbest criminals.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, this was a thing that I kind of get a kick out of. It's almost like instant karma. So, uh, I got just a few stories of, I guess, instant karma to criminals who don't really think their crime very, very well. So, in 2008, an 18-year-old man named Ruben Zarette attempted to rob a muffler shop in Chicago. After demanding money, he was told that the most of the cash was stored in a safe that could only be opened by the manager, who wasn't scheduled to come in until a few hours later. To have himself some trouble, Zarat left his cell phone number for the store to call him back when the manager arrived. So, of course, the store called the police and then called Zarat back. When he came back and noticed the police were waiting on him, he engaged in a brief shootout with cops before eventually being arrested. So, who leaves their cell phone number? Oh, my Lord.
What do you think about that,
That's too
Harvey?
much.
That's true.
That's hilarious.
That is no lie. He's telling the truth. I've heard that story too, and it was hilarious.
Oh my gosh. And I love these stories. I mean, it's just, it baffles me that somebody would be brazen enough to rob something or something of that nature, but too dumb enough to leave their cell phone number to call me when the manager got back. So
That's crazy, man.
I got a couple more of these. It says in 2010, Bailey, an unnamed juvenile, and sorry, let's try this again. It says in 2010, Bailey and an unnamed juvenile accomplice decided to rob a bank in Fairfield, Connecticut. But in an attempt to speed up the process of the crime, Bailey called the bank in advance to let them know that they were coming to rob it. His obvious intent was to give the bank plenty of time to get the money ready so he could just pick it up and leave quickly. Of course, the bank decided to call the authorities and notify them of the robber's arrival, and the two men were arrested by police without incident. So they call ahead to tell the bank, get the money ready. We're on our way. That way we can make a quick getaway, but don't call the police.
They're acting like it's takeout, man. Like it's a restaurant.
I wonder if they could DoorDash it. Just DoorDash me the money. Okay, got one more. Dennis Hawkins. This is the stupidest criminal. The stupidest criminal out as he got to be Dennis Hawkins, a 48-year-old man who tried to rob a bank in Pittsburgh. Hawkins clearly didn't get the memo about needing a good disguise and quickly blended into the crowd after the crime. As he chose a woman's blonde wig, fake breast, and bright clown pants. Even worse still, in his failed attempt to pretend to be a woman, he didn't even take the time to shave his facial hair. As if the man wasn't noticeable enough, he drew even more attention to himself when he tried to steal a car from a nearby gas station, where the attendant called the police and who apprehended Hawkins soon after. So this guy dressed like a woman and apparently had a beard. So disguise well done. So that's your dumb crook news for today.
I think the beard was like the one I told you, son. Son did about my first cousin. I think they would like it. Can I tell it?
What is it?
Well, I told y'all Sunday, my first cousin and I got another cousin by marriage. They was both state police, Kentucky State Police. Well, and I think it was around Christmas Eve, and he was coming up our road, our main road, and he come up on this car, was weaving a little bit, and so he kept following him. He said, "Well, he may not know what he was going to say, well, I'm not getting his Christmas Eve, but we'll see what he does." So he had no intention of doing anything yet. Well, when he got to about right there here where I live, he pulled into the driveway below me. And my cousin pulled in right behind him, got out of his cruiser, and the guy rolled his window down, and my cousin said, "Where do you think you're going?" He said, "Well, I'm home." And my first cousin said, "Well, oh, but you see, I live here. You are under arrest." So they ended up taking him to jail.
So he pulled into the state troopers driveway.
Yeah, he pulled into my first cousin's house.
Oh my gosh.
And that's bad.
That's a good one. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
That needs to be on the dumbest criminals as well.
That definitely needs to be on dumbest criminals.
And I know
That's
you have
good.
have like the first ever UFO sighting too, man.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting here. It says on March 1st, 1639, John Winthrop opened his diary in which he recorded the trials and triumphs of his fellow Puritans as they made a new life in America. As the governor of Massachusetts Bay Colony put pen to paper, he began to recount a most unusual event that had recently caused a stir among the English immigrants. Winthrop wrote that earlier in the year, James Everill, a sober, discreet man in quotations, and two others have been rowing a boat in the muddy river, which flowed through the swamplands and emptied into a tidal basin in the Charles River when they saw a green light in the sky. When it stood still, it flamed up. It was about 3 yards square. The governor reported when it ran, it was contracted into a figure of a swine. Over the course of 2 to 3 hours, the boatman said that the mysterious light ran as swift as an arrow, darting back and forth between them and the village of Charlestown, a distance of approximately 2 miles. Diverse other credible persons saw the same light after about the same place, Winthrop added. The governor wrote that when the strange apparition finally faded away, the three Puritans in the boat were stunned to find themselves 1 mile upstream, as if the light had transported them there. The men had no memory of the rowing against the tide, although it's possible that they could have been carried by a wind or a reverse tidal flow. The mysterious repositioning of the boat could suggest that they were unaware of a part of the experience. Some researchers would interpret that this was a possible alien abduction as if it happened today. Some have speculated that the curious glow could have been an ignis fatuus, a pale light that can appear over marshlands at night due to combustion of gas and decomposing organic matter. If Winthrop's report was correct, however, the light was not rising from the swamp, but shooting across the sky, making that explanation unlikely. So, I mean, that's 1639. Supposedly, the very first documented UFO case.
And that was from the History Channel, wasn't it?
That is from the History Channel, correct?
Which makes it even more credible.
For the most part, yeah. They don't
For
put
the
their
most
stuff out there just willy-nilly. So there must be some credibility to it.
For sure, man. Harvey, what'd you think about that, man?
Well, maybe that old saying "when pigs fly" is right.
Well,
No,
that's the part I have a hard time with when it says
that's swine.
when it ran, it contracted into the figure of a swine.
Yeah,
Um, I know opium was pretty big back then. So, but Seth and I was talking about this before we started this, and 1639. I mean, how else would they describe something like that, though?
I've always said we never know what's out there.
That's true,
No,
man.
no, not at all. And I hate to keep kicking a dead horse, but I have to just constantly just keep thinking that people, when they see or say they seen a UFO or some kind of cryptid animal, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, but they're seeing something. It's not all fake. It's not all misinformation. It's not all misidentified. They're seeing something. What are they seeing? I don't know. In my case, when I saw what I saw out in New Mexico, the best way you can describe it is that it was a UFO. But when I say UFO, that doesn't mean it's from outer space. It just means it's something that I've never seen or even remotely ever seen in the sky or on TV or anything else. So it was so foreign to me that it's just a UFO. But that don't mean it's from outer space either.
Yeah, man, your sighting is incredible, though.
It's something that I'll probably never forget in my entire life.
Yeah, I actually had a sighting about a week ago, man. It was just a white light that was going in the sky, but it was going so fast, man. I don't know what it was.
Again, a UFO. I mean, you couldn't identify it. So, but that don't mean it's from outer space. But even though you couldn't identify it. So I mean, it could very well have been our own government. I mean, you never know. But all
Could have been a satellite, possibly.
yeah, absolutely could have been.
Yeah, I'm not ruling that out at all, man. It went by so fast I couldn't even tell, to be honest.
I think we're very arrogant as a species to think that we are the only living beings in space. Space is infinite. We don't know. We have never seen the edge of space, so it's vast. It's massive. So I don't see us being the only living, breathing creatures in in ever. I just don't see that.
I agree with that, man. Definitely. And I'm not gonna give up too much, but 2 weeks from now on the radio show we will have guests. Excited for that.
Yes, we will actually have two guests at the same time. So it's going to be a very interesting show. If you're kind of into the macabre and the weird, that's going to be the show for you.
You'll still be doing your day in history segment as well.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of day in history, seeing how it is after midnight, April 15th, 1865 is the day that shocked America. It was the day John Wilkes Booth shot Abraham Lincoln at Ford's Theater as they were attending a play called My Fair Cousin. As pretty much we all should know anyway that after Booth shot Lincoln, he jumped across the banisters, screamed "Sic Semper Tyrannis." His boot heel got hooked on one of the flags as he landed on the stage, broke his foot, his ankle. and hobbled away. Lincoln was carried across the street. He was still alive. And they took him across the street, put him in a bed, and he was so tall that they had to lay him diagonal into the bed. He lived till the next morning. And one of the biggest misquoted quotes in American history was made at the time Lincoln was actually passed. Stanton, who was, oh, my mind drew a blank. He was Secretary of something. Shoot. Anyway, make me look like a fool. But there's a lot rolling around up inside there, so it's excusable. But anyway, he was quoted as saying, now he belongs to the angels. Or he was quoted saying, now he belongs to the ages. And that was a misquote. He said, now he belongs to the angels. John Wilkes Booth went on up into Virginia, where he seen a doctor named Dr. Mudd, M-U-D-D, Dr. Mudd. Mudd tried to fix him, couldn't fix him. His leg was broke too bad. Got on his horse and ran on up into Virginia. The Army of the Potomac was right hot on his heels. He held up in a barn, and they caught up to him. There was a couple of them in the barn. They refused to come out. One of the soldiers saw him in between the slats of the barn and shot him in the neck, and he was paralyzed from the neck down. They drug him out of the barn. That was around 3 a.m. Laid him out in front of the house, and right before he died, he asked one of the soldiers to hold his hands up in front of his face. And when the soldier held his hands up in front of his face, he looked at his hands and he said, useless, useless, and died. That's your history lesson for today.
Isn't there a rumor that they didn't get Booth though and got another guy? I seen that on like the History Channel.
Yeah, there's so many theories about that it's kind of hard to depict what really happened as far as it wasn't Booth, was it not Booth? I don't really know what to think about that. I think they got Booth. They chased him all that way from Washington down into Virginia. I think I'm thinking it was Booth without a doubt. But this is where you come into the conspirators who conspired to, in the beginning, the plot wasn't to kill Lincoln. It was to kidnap him. But they could never get the opportunity. So Booth, who knew that Lincoln was over there watching that play of My Fair Cousins, was at a bar, and he got a little liquid courage in him and decided that instead of kidnapping, he was just going to kill him. So one of the conspirators that was plotting to kidnap Lincoln was a woman named Mary Surratt, who owned an inn where all the conspirators were meeting to plan this kidnapping. Well, as it come about, when it was all said and done, all of them hung, including Mary Surratt. She was hung as where our Capitol sits today. They built gallows right there, and she was the very first woman in American history to ever become part of capital punishment. So there you go.
That's interesting, man. That's a whole different rabbit hole to go down though about Booth. supposedly still being alive after that.
We could go down so many. Um, like I said, to me personally, I think they got him. I would like to think that they got him. Um, but I mean, there's so many different rabbit holes you can go down with so many different things. I mean, just even Billy the Kid. They're not even sure that they got Billy the Kid when Pat Garrett supposedly shot him. Him and Pat Garrett were good friends at one time. So who knows? He may have let him go and had somebody else in his place that they just killed. But I kind of think that they got him. So we can go down a bunch of rabbit holes with that.
Tracy, I've got something to tell you, and maybe Seth. Seth may not know it, but you may know it. Y'all need to get on Google or Safari and read the comparisons between Lincoln and John F. Kennedy.
Yeah, there was Kennedy had, just to start out, Kennedy had his vice president was Johnson. Lincoln also had a Johnson. Yeah, you're right, Harvey. There's a bunch of comparisons.
Yeah,
wasn't they president like 100 years apart as well?
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
1860 and 1960.
Yeah, weird. there's a lot of similarities between those two. You're right, and if you got time to look into it, it is. I mean, it's pretty fascinating how that kind of works out.
Yes.
Yeah, man, we got more stuff to talk about on radio show now. I mean, we can talk about the Wild West days, man.
Listen,
like you said, Billy the Kid, man.
Listen, history is, if you read it out of a book, it's very dull. It's very boring. It's this and that. But once you get into the stories that the history books don't teach you, that's when it gets fun. It's like, I just take Gettysburg, and this is a debate, and I'm probably going to spark a debate right now.
You've been there,
but the Battle of Gettysburg in 1863, July 3rd and 4th and 5th, or 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, was fought over shoes. The South needed them. The North had them. It just so happened that the North and the South met at the same time in that town. And that's how the Battle of Gettysburg started. They don't teach you that stuff in history books.
You've actually been there, ain't you?
I have been there several times, and each time I go, I learn something. And to put my eyes on the same landscape that those guys fought and died on is amazing, to see what they saw at that time, because the landscape has changed some, but you still have Little Round Top, you still have Big Round Top, you still have the high water mark, you still have all that stuff is still there. And to be able to walk that ground and know what happened, it kind of it will suck it right into your head. If you get up on Little Round Top and see where Joshua Chamberlain and the 20th Maine were held in with very little ammo, but they fought off 7 or 8 charges from the South. When you stand at that on those grounds, it's just like I was there. I mean, I could almost see smoke and smell it and hear the cries and the hollers, and it just puts me in that mindset.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, history's pretty cool if you really want it to be.
Yes, sir. And now I'll play the radio ad if you do a little break.
Yeah, we're good.
Tired of the mainstream media spin? Want the truth? Loud, clear, and unapologetically conservative? Seth's Conservative Podcast Show is your new Sunday night destination. Tune in at 7 p.m. every Sunday on Rewind the Indie for bold opinions, hot takes, and real talk that cuts through the noise. Politics, culture, common sense. If you're ready for a show that stands for faith, freedom, and the American way, this is it. Seth's Conservative Podcast Show. Sundays at 7. Only on Rewind the Indie. Be there. Be misinformed.
I want to thank Rewind Indy for having us every week, man.
Absolutely. And Sunday, 7 p.m.
This episode this week's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, the next few shows we got coming up, man, is going to be great. And you and I've been talking all day back and forth about how many listeners listen to that show, and we're just blown away by that being the actual pilot show, the very first show, and we, it went way beyond expectation.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I had a fun with that show. I had fun doing every episode, man, but doing the radio show is even more fun, to be honest, man.
Yeah, and we're working on getting a few other guests. One is pretty big in the podcast world. I'm not dropping any names yet till I get a yes. But he has recently written a book, and I think I can entice him to come on a little bit, maybe push his book some. So, but as that gets closer and we confirm everything, we will let you know. But you're just gonna have to stay tuned to find out.
Yep, and I'm actually going to try to get one of the biggest Bigfoot researchers out there, man. He's been on every TV show and stuff. You've actually interviewed him before. I ain't gonna say no names, but I'm gonna try to get him on, man.
That'll be exciting.
Yeah, you know who I'm talking about.
I absolutely do.
Definitely, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've been in contact with him before years ago, but I'm gonna try to get back in contact with him. Hopefully, we can get Don Neal back on too. Get Don Neal out of retirement.
Man, I would love for Don to come out of retirement. He is so fun to interview. His stories are just, I mean, he just keeps you at on the edge of your seat with his
Yeah,
stories of with these Bigfoot stories, and especially, and the cool thing about it is he's not talking about Bigfoot in Oregon or California. He's talking about Bigfoot in Kentucky, right there in your all's home state, Kentucky. So that's cool.
yeah. I mean, that makes it even more cooler, man. He's especially where he's from, Kentucky, the same place I'm from, man. And he's just like you said, an encyclopedia of Bigfoot knowledge.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
You just ask him a question, he runs with it. He's good,
Just
man.
listen, you ask him a question, you just hit mute on your microphone because he's going to talk for a while.
Which for an interviewer is great.
Oh, it's great. And sometimes, when I would interview Don, when we first started into, when Don started first coming on our old show, I would have this list of questions, and I wouldn't even get through maybe 3 or 4 questions, and then an hour was gone. And it was like, okay, we'll have to save the rest of these questions for the next time.
Yeah, man. Don's great.
He's probably one of my favorite interviewers.
Definitely, man.
I would say out of anybody I've interviewed, he's one of my favorites.
Definitely, man. Don Neal is definitely top of that list. Harvey Everidge is too. Harvey, you're on mute, man. He has
I think
himself on mute. It's all good though. There you go, Harvey. You good, man?
I'm back on now. How's it going?
It's early in the morning, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I was going to ask Tracy there when he was in school, did he ever have to get up in front of class or write it down the Gettysburg Address? We had a choice. We had a choice of writing it down or getting up in front of the whole class and reciting it.
Well, no, I never had to do that either of that. But it's cool that you mentioned that, Harvey, because when you're at Gettysburg, right there at the cemetery, there is a big bust of Abraham Lincoln's, head. And I mean, this thing is, you couldn't wrap your hands around it. It's that big. And behind him, there is a wall that has the entire Gettysburg Address on it, which is really cool.
When I was in the eighth grade, we was taught we had to do like sometime in our class we had to do like a play. And speaking of Abraham Lincoln, I had to play the part in a play about Abraham Lincoln. That was Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, really? How cool.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And me and Harvey will be back Wednesday night with the show with presidential candidate William Hunt. Ain't that
Gosh,
right,
I was
Harvey?
trying to remember. Crap. I was trying to remember the Gettysburg Address.
Well, it starts out 4 score and 7 years ago.
Right. Our fathers brought forth to this nation a new continent. Oh, crap. I used to know it by heart, too.
And dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
Yes.
But you wouldn't want to know my version of the Harvey address. I start my address similar to that. It goes 4 score and 7 years ago. I went here. That's it.
You're a side, Harvey.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, me and Harvey will be back Wednesday night for the show with William Hunt, presidential show. And then me and Tracy will be back Sunday night with the Line Before podcast on Rewind Radio every Sunday at 7 p.m.
Yep. Let's see. I found it. I'm not going to read it, but I found it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
really,
we definitely look forward to it, man. Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
no, I was just, when you're trying to remember this thing and by heart, it seems like it's forever, but it's only like 200 words. It's not very big at all. Huh. But yeah, that's pretty cool, Harvey.
Well, I loved history anyway. I ain't gonna brag, but I was practically almost a straight A student in history. I loved it so much. I believe I could have taught it too. I believe I could have taught history, but I don't think I would want to be a teacher today anyway.
Well, that's how I found out how I liked history. When I was in college, I actually went to become an engineer. And I found out that my math skills weren't near as good as I thought they were. So I befriended one of the history teachers, and he was going to retire in a couple of years, and he asked me if I would be interested in taking his position once he retired. And I jumped all over that. It's like, yeah, sure. So as I went on through school and I got my degrees, the university changed their policy. And at the time, I was working on a master's degree, but they changed their policy to you either had to have a master's degree or a teaching degree. Well, I had neither one, but I was working on my master's degree, and I was trying to convince them to let me teach while I continued to work on my master's degree, and they wouldn't let me. So I didn't get to take, the position, which, I would have loved to have done. But I mean, it is what it is. I got the degree and a lot of useless information out of it.
Hey man, you hosted a radio show for 2 years though, so
That's true. And used a lot of history in that show. And this is kind of how my mind works. It always goes back to, what history. When somebody will mention a place or a person, and I automatically suck back to that time to, you know, just whatever they were talking about, and then I go off on tangents like I've done with John Wilkes Booth and Abraham Lincoln tonight.
hey man, it's interesting though. Harvey, tell us about Harvey's weekly football report.
Well, I ain't got much. Oh well,
No, I mean what we do in the NFL season, the podcast.
we talk about we go down the line game by game, picking them, see which one does the good winning, and talk about the games and how important they are, and we've even been in fantasy and football, and we enjoy it. We enjoy the NFL. We even love college football too, and just talk about which teams are good, which team needs help, and all that, and who would we think will win a division. I mean, just interesting stuff about football, and I think people would enjoy, and maybe somebody could get on and be a guest with us. Maybe you could be a guest with us and see how good you could do with it. So we just love it.
He might do better than us, man.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm not much on football. I'm a baseball guy though. I played baseball for about 20 years and
20 years,
love baseball. But just not so much football or basketball. But I was a one sport kid, so that's all I ever played was baseball.
love
Who was your
basketball and football, man.
Who was your favorite baseball team?
Dodgers, without a doubt.
I can remember me and you probably we're at the age where we can remember when the Reds and the Dodgers was one of the biggest rivalries in the NL.
Absolutely. And, there is still a little bit of that rivalry left. The problem is, and this is just me going off on a tangent, is these salary caps. When you have big teams teams in big markets like New York, LA, Houston, these bigger, where these guys can get paid 6 and 7, $800 million versus a smaller market like Cincinnati or Kansas City or something like that. It kind of hinders the eligibility of getting good players or better players. Listen, I'm going to tell you from experience, there are no the major leagues. They are there for a reason. Now there are better players, but they're all good. Every one of them are good. But to get like Juan Soto, just signed a deal with the Mets for $720 million.
I seen that. That's crazy.
So Ellie De La Cruz at Cincinnati, somebody's going to come by, offer him $400, $500, $600 million, and he's going to be gone. So what they ought to do, in my opinion, is put a salary cap. No matter how big your market is, everybody gets the same amount of money to play with. That's how you're going to even this up. That's how you're going to get rid of dynasties. That's how you're going to quit seeing the Dodgers in 5 World Series.
They
That's how
don't do
you're
that
going
in
to quit
baseball.
seeing the Yankees in 5 World Series. It evens the playing field.
They do that in the NBA, man. They give everybody the same amount of salary cap.
I think it's great. I think that is a wonderful idea.
They do that in football as well, NFL.
Well, hopefully one day it'll be in baseball too, because
That's crazy that it's not in baseball.
yeah, and the markets, they play off the markets. If you got X amount of people in your market, then you get, so much more money. You can sell much more tickets, you sell much more merchandise, and all this stuff. But if you made it equal across the entire board, then everybody's on an equal playing field with their salaries. Nobody's going to make $720 million a year because these teams can't afford it with the salary cap.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely appreciate you being on, Harvey and Tracy. Tracy, you can
Yes,
tell the
sir.
people about our radio show every Sunday.
Yes, sir. Says Daily Podcast on Rewind Indie Radio. You can find it on if they got an app, right? It's in the app stores.
Yeah.
Um, if if you can't find it, send Seth a message because I'll never answer it if you send it to me.
You can also
Uh,
find it on Get Me Radio as well.
but see, that's there you go. Um, so yeah, but yeah, check us out Sunday nights at 7, every Sunday night at 7, and then you get this little gig right here on Facebook every so often. So
YouTube,
um,
Spotify, everything, man. Also, if you want to send us an email, man, I would love to do like a mailbag. Me and Tracy could answer some questions you send us. We'd love to get some fans or whatever to send us some
absolutely,
emails. You can send that to seth.ambergy14@gmail.com.
yes, you can.
seth.ambergy.14@gmail.com.
And like I said, don't send me anything because I won't answer.
Well, I said another dot. I mean SETHAMBURGEY 1414
And when I say I won't answer, it won't because I don't answer them. It's because I don't know how.
Don't know how to answer an
That's
email or
listen.
Facebook.
I I can't even send an email. I don't know nothing about that stuff. If I need to talk to you, I'll call you on the phone.
Yeah, but you can send us an email anytime. I'll play the radio ad for a few minutes, well, a few seconds, whatever. I don't even know how long that is, man.
I don't either.
Oh, it's 35 seconds.
I say it. I thought it was pretty close to 30 seconds.
If it'll let me play it.
Tired of the conservative? Seth's Conservative Podcast Show is your new Sunday night destination. Tune in at 7 p.m. every Sunday on Rewind Indie for bold opinions, hot takes, and real talk that cuts through the noise. Politics, culture, common sense. If you're ready for a show that stands for faith, freedom, and the American way, this is it. Seth's Conservative Podcast Show. Sundays at 7, only on Rewind Indie. Be there. Be misinformed.
Exactly. If you miss it, you're misinformed.
That's right, Harvey. Good talking with you, sir. We'll have to do this more often. And boys, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Seth, take us home.
Everybody have a good night and God bless.